Today, we are very happy to be joined by Ms. Carla Armour. She is a life coach, Pilates instructor, personal trainer, and artist, as well. And she has 30 years of experience in areas such as health, fitness, arts and culture, hospitality, and tourism in Dominica, Namibia, England, and she also works online with a global population. So thank you, Carla, for being with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm just
Absolutely.
hoping that I'm ready to share with you guys. And
Yes, yes. And I think that the work that you do is so very important, especially in the world that we live in today, that I am really happy that you took some time to share a couple of lessons and to just spend some time with us today. So is there anything else you want to add in terms of who you are and where you're tuning in from?
well, I'm actually based in the south of England, near the beach in Brighton and Hove. And I'm originally from Dominica. So I've been living here since 2002, 2000, and yeah, or 2002. And then in between traveled a bit to Namibia and
Okay.
to Dominica and stuff. But yeah, so I was obviously working face to face here with my body work, my Pilates primarily, and um, and I do that in Dominica when I go down as well. So it's just really a privilege to be able to transition to the online and to still have that space fully online and still be able to help people, because what the clients keep telling me is that it's such a big help for them to be live on Zoom with me, see the other people that are participating, some people that they used to do classes with, and some new friends that they've made. And that, in a sense, is just such a sense of camaraderie and togetherness, especially during the lockdown when the lockdown was full on. So it did help a lot of people. And then it kept them fit, because people that have injuries and the populations that I work with, like people traditionally really, I work with everybody, but I have most of my clients are over 40, 45, up to about 85. So it is really important for them to have um, uh, access to movement, and to me to just help them through anything that they're having. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So very important, the work that you're doing. Now, you seem to have chosen,
Thank you too.
yes, you
I just
seem to
want
have,
to say thank you.
yeah, you seem to have chosen a very non-traditional path. Growing up, we're always told that your career should be a nurse, a doctor, a teacher, a lawyer. But for some reason, you chose a more of a health path, Pilates,
Mhm,
fitness, arts. Can you tell
mhm.
us a little bit of why you went in those particular directions with your career choices?
Well, I was really born into the hospitality business, and I've always been creative. I mean, my parents have pictures of me dressing up my sister when we must have been about maybe 7 and 4 or whatever, and just always playing in very creative ways.
Mhm.
And it's just always been my thing. So in the hospitality industry, if you think about it, they are really every aspect of the of life, because you get to feed people, you get to style things for people, to decorate for people, you get to prepare spaces, build spaces for people, you get to work with people's emotions to check, if they're okay, you get to organize activities for people, whether they're going to hike or to run or to dive. So you're exposed to so many things. And I think just intuitively, I am a very creative person, and very empathetic in the sense that I can pick up a lot of what people feel and think. And growing up in high school, because also I like to draw, I used to like to draw the anatomy and biology. So I just got very intrigued by that. And then as a creative person is always attention to detail. So the idea of movement and being always healthy myself and always running or being at school, I just always liked it. I've been running a runner since I'm about 12. Just literally get up in the morning, go run or whatever, whether it was a school or when I was in Dominica, just run to Point Michel or whatever. um, so yes, I think I just been exposed, fortunate enough to be exposed, and for my parents to just feel, well, you can be whatever you want to be, really. I didn't really grow up with although I have two siblings that are medical doctors.
Uh-huh.
um, that was their choice, but I
Right.
didn't really grow up with this concept. And my father was an engineer, but
Right.
I didn't really grow up with this thing over my head that you have to be a certain thing. My father always said, whatever you do, just be the best at it.
Yeah,
The
and I
best that you
think you,
can be. Yeah.
yeah, and I think you speak so very well to something that we promote a lot on this program, which is follow your passion. What
Exactly.
is it innate in you that you feel is your calling, and not be bogged down by what other people are doing right within your household, where you had two siblings follow a different path, but
Hmm.
you remained true to what your calling
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
was. So did you find any challenges in the beginning with pursuing that path?
Um, I did. I can't say I did because
Mm-hmm.
everything I've done has been quite an evolution, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very much of a learner. Just like to learn anything that any course that's going, any certification that's going. I am the first person to go and grab it. So it's a matter of being passionate about something, as you said, and just wanting to. I just never really took no for an answer. I just wanted to do it. So I just thought, well, why wouldn't I be able to do it? Which is very unusual for a woman. And
Yes.
as we can know, for a Black woman. And I'm also a very petite one. So, so I mean, it's not often you get a small person, sort of people make the way for you. And I guess when people hear me on the phone, they think I'm bigger, larger than life because of my voice,
Right.
but I'm quite small.
Uh-huh.
And so I didn't really have challenges in that sense. And because I have, which is I don't want to say like talk big about myself, but I think it helps because of the roles that I've been thrust into because of growing up in business. I mean, you just have to be able to do things in family business. I think that I just became the kind of person that wanted to always do something well. So I would read up and I would make sure I knew it well before I just put myself out there. I'm a big practicer, and I think it's a little bit bad because it gets you into this perfectionist mode. You always have to be good, but I've gotten over that. um, but when you got in touch with me, I was wow, because this untapped potential for me is the key,
Yes.
because we
Yes.
all have this untapped potential, but sometimes we harbor things within us, beliefs,
Yes.
um, labels, memories that form in a certain way that put us into a space
Yes.
that's not our own, it's somebody else's. And when we don't tap into our own unique potential,
Right.
and for me, that is the reason, most of all, that I got into what I am in. And I will tell you why I do. Because working with people in the hospitality industry as well, and in the positions that I was in, often I would work in with HR, working with them and their feelings. And often I would be interviewing and they would come for a specific job. And I said, well, no, you don't have to come for this job. You're just going to come to work in the team and you're
Right.
going to experience everything. And then you're going to see what you like the best.
Mhm.
Because you could come for a certain job because you think that's what you want to do. And then in the end, you don't really do it with your passion. But then when you understand everything else, you say, okay, I like this. Or not only that, when you get to what you like, you already know what other people are experiencing. So it means that you can tap in to what you've learned and tap into what you're really passionate about. And I felt that's when people agreed to do that sort of journey through the property,
Mhm.
and they really excelled.
Mhm.
They really, really excelled. And in the different things that I've been involved in with the artists, with culture, with the writers in Dominica, I used to have an art gallery. Um, people would come there and then we would do rehearsals with our poetry, with drumming. And then painters would bring their work, and then I'd get some other artists and we'd do little critiques with them. And, just to tap into just something that's they're doing so well. Oh, wow. So try that in that area too. You see, oh, that area, you look like you were really concentrating in that area. They say, yeah, how you see that, and just how do you feel in
Mhm.
your zone when you were doing that? Well, then wait until you get that zone again and then continue, So it's
That's
all about that, I think, is what has been the journey for me.
Yeah, and thank you so much for capturing what the program truly is about, because it is certainly about unleashing in us what is innate, because I truly believe that each one of us was put on this earth for a particular purpose, a particular, reason. And we find success and fulfillment when we tap in and we pursue that purpose. And also, we're able to support others in the same way that you've explained. So tell us a little bit, because I know you have so much going on right now. So tell us a little bit about what you are currently working on. I know you do the Zoom Pilates classes right now, but tell us what are some of the projects that you're working on that can help us with our goal of self-development.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for asking, because I've had this project working on since 2015, where I did a series in Dominica on radio on Sunday mornings with Marilyn Isles, and it was called Nobody Does Me Better. Because I know that in working with people, because I did my coaching course in 2007, and I became a Pilates instructor in 2003. But before that, I was an aerobics instructor, and I did training with Virgin Active in Namibia. So I did the group fitness training. I was group fitness training manager as well there. And so that was at a gym. And so when I came back to England, I was doing that. But then I went back to Dominica with my son because I wanted him to be a Dominican feel, and I wanted him to understand the culture and understand carnival and calypso and know who is his auntie and that his neighbor is also his auntie and that sort of thing. I wanted to instill in him that culture so he understands his roots and his lineage, which I feel very strongly is an issue with today's world and all of the racism thing, this with Black Lives Matter, because I think a lot of people, they've been so disenfranchised and lied to, and they don't know the truth about their lineage and their greatness, that is within us, that I wanted him to understand about family and connections. But let's come back to now. And so with all of this COVID thing, I started organizing it to get back into it, because I tell you the honest truth, when I came back after with him to high school, I started working on this, and then we had some storms in Dominica, Erica and then Maria. So because I had damage to our property there, I ended up spending a lot more time in Dominica over the past, I would say, before 2019. From 2016 to 2019, there was a lot of time in Dominica. So that sort of disrupted it. But now I have launched this because so much now you hear people saying, they need to pivot, they need to change, they need to see how the new normal, how are they going to create in the new normal? And I think it's such a captive time for us to stop and think, what is it I want my life to be like in a year?
Absolutely.
Not in 3 months.
Absolutely.
When I pivot, but in a year or in 2 years, how is this going to count? So I have launched this project called Nobody Does You Better, which is a quest. So it's a hybrid coaching program. I call it a bounce back program because it's dealing with resilience building. It's dealing with wellness, and it comes really out of my Pilates, where people harbor a lot of tension, and they manifest it physically in injury and dis-ease and pain in their bodies because of the toxins from overproduction of cortisol and the tightness that they hold their body in. And so I find working with people during this time of distress and uncertainty that they really, really are grappling with a lot of more issues. And so I felt this would be a nice opportunity to give primarily women, this is really for women, to spend some time with me. Initially, it's a 12-week quest, but then after that, if the women need my support, they will have access to me, what I would call an alumni group, that they could have access to support each other and I could support them. And I'm learning through the process as well, as we do with every single day. We learn something from everyone, but it's about offering this space and this time for that. And before Erica, I actually had done a project, an art project, an installation performance piece about sharing space where I was collecting receipts from people's pain, whether it was loss of a child or loss of a family member, or it was rape or incest or an accident or something, where they could come and share space with me in an artist's installation. And I would write this down. At the end of the evening, I would read out their prose, and I would get other women to read out of that, and we would have an ablution ritual where we would wash away the pain and share that journey with each other, you know. And then I did that again after Maria in Dominica and in London, where I had 2 exhibitions called Still Waters, where it was about entering the space that was with tarpaulin from the roofs, you know, now on the floor. So it was like as if we were underwater, and how it felt being underwater and in that sense of trying to gasp and come up for air, you know. And then another piece of that was with hangings, mobiles of galvanized and different offcuts of wood that were throwing shadows onto a canvas. So this canvas was actually a work of art, but every time you moved and the shadow moved, because the mobiles were turning and shifting, it cast a different shadow. So it was just a sort of a metaphor for life, right? That everything in our life, when we step into the light, we throw a shadow somewhere. Mm-hmm. When we come out of the light, we let we let that light shine onto something else. Mm-hmm. And we can choose which way we shift, mm-hmm. to face the light, to back the light, to block the light for others, or to create a new space by being part of the light and the shadow. Mm-hmm. So that was a very emotive piece, you know, that you walked through, and it was very, very cathartic for the people that came to the exhibitions. And that is why within my quest, I am also, it's going to be creative. We're going to do creative tasks. We're going to do health and fitness, definitely working with a personal program for my questers, I like to call them. I'm calling them questers, you know, when they're questers, and then at the end of it, they will become divine empresses, you know, because that divine, the divinity is within us, it's breathed within us. Mm-hmm. And we are all, you know, rulers of our domain, which Absolutely. Is what an emperor
and you know, that is why I say it is so important, the work that you're doing right now. So for anyone who's just joining us, we're speaking with Miss Carla Armour out in England, and she's telling us about the wonderful work that she's doing in terms of self-development and the new program that she has just launched called Quest, specifically for women, which begs the question, Carla, do you have any offerings for the men in our population?
Yes, I do. I do work with men. I do work with men of all ages, shapes, and sizes. Not on this quest, because I want it to be a sort of a safe space where women can grow and become their divine empresses that they are. But yes, I do work with men, and I do work very well with men, I would have to say. I don't know if it's because I have 3 brothers and I grew up with lots of their friends around, and a lot of my closest friends are men. But I do have an affinity that I am very open and you know, understand men, and I do enjoy working with men. So yes, if they want to work with me, they can simply drop me a line. They can find me on Facebook, Carla Armour. I have a page and a profile, and they can find me there. They can also find me on carlaarmourcoaching.com. That's Carla Armour with the R. That's a knight in shining armor and not love. And yeah, so they can just look up Carla Armour and they can see my face, so they know what I look like.
And I think it's so important, because so many of us are struggling right now, just with, as you say, keeping our heads above water. Mm-hmm. So I think it is so important what you're doing right now. So I think a lot of people are struggling with the idea of starting a business during such trying times. So what would you say to someone who's struggling with just the idea of starting a business like you did with your Quest program during these troubling times?
Well, what I would say, first of all, is if not now, when? What you're going to wait for? Mm-hmm. What you're waiting for? A knight in shining armor is not for real, as in fairy tales. Mm-hmm. And the long and the short, there's a few things I would say. First of all, is that it's No, nothing such as failure. It's just lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So who the hell cares if it doesn't work? You know how much you learn?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you do it wisely and you plan and you do your business plan before you actually spend money, you can see, is this going to make sense? And actually, I was speaking to somebody today, and that is one of the things that she would like to do. And she would like to join the quest. And I'm saying that, look, it's not only me, I'm going to have experts to join me and come in to talk to my questers to have some input. You know, we will have people with financial advice. We'll have people naturopath. I'll
Good
have people
idea.
nutritionists. I'll have people with legal advice. I'll have people with business advice, you know, so that it's because I'm dealing with the whole person. And if maybe your goal is to start your business and that's how we can support you, you know, then look, I'm not saying I'm going to write your business plan for you, but I'm sure because there is some one-to-one involved in there. You know, you could share that with me in your session. You choose what you're going to discuss during because I'm having 6 one-to-ones over the 12 weeks. That's a lot of individual private coaching.
Right.
So you can choose, you know, with me, what you're going to address at that point to see how you can take your goals, because I'd like you to achieve some concrete goals in the 12 weeks. You know, I don't want you to bite off too much and you can chew and then you feel disappointed because then, you know, you go into all this shame and judgment. I don't want that. I just want you to take one step, next step. It's like running a marathon. Each step takes you closer. You know, a lot of people think you have to sprint out and you're going to get to the end faster. That doesn't work. I know it doesn't work, you know,
It
you
doesn't.
just
I've
take
tried it.
one step at a time. And the fact that I'll be right there with my hand at your back saying, okay, you committed to this, you've signed a contract, you agreed we're going to do this, let's move it. What's stopping
Now,
you?
what do you do in the event that you realize someone is not taking it as seriously as they ought to? They're kind of slacking off. They're not returning your phone calls. I mean, you can only help people who truly wants to be helped. And for example, I had this one lady who signed up to do Zoom fitness with me. She committed for 4 weeks. After the first week, she disappeared. And no matter how much I reached out to her,
Mm-hmm.
no response. So, you
Mm-hmm.
know, what do you do in a case like that?
This is a bit of a struggle, but you know what I think? See, a few things I do. First of all, I think, okay, what happened here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I send a few messages, look, I'm missing you. I turn off of when you come into class and I say, look, I'm missing you. Is everything okay? I would say 7.5% of the time, 75% of the time, something has happened.
Mm-hmm.
An ill relative, they've had to rush to do something. And then sometimes other thing can happen is that they feel a little shame because they backslide.
Yes.
Because again, in our ideal, you know, we grew up as in religious society sometimes. If you're backslide, that's the most shameful thing you can do. No, you've just had a moment in life. You just had a phase. You know, shrug it off your shoulder. Let's move on, you know. And so it's okay. Because I say once every day is another day to choose to start fresh.
Right.
Okay. So
Absolutely.
that's what I would do if it was this Zoom with the exercise. With my live coaching, you pay upfront for a package because I know that it doesn't work unless you follow a process.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My coaching is not refundable because of the fact I put a hell of a lot into you,
Absolutely.
much in advance than you are getting the information I'm doing for you. Whether it's your personal programs, I'm going to see how I'm going to pace you. I'm going to put your programs that are going to develop as you develop. Okay. I'm going to read up on your conditions. There's a lot of investment on my part that I'm doing for you. And I'm not going to charge you 2 cents. I'm going to charge you a good amount of money. So you know it's an investment in yourself.
Absolutely. It's a commitment.
It's a commitment and an investment. And so many people will take the same money or half of that money and feel nothing to invest it in a shoe and an outfit,
Absolutely.
or, you know, go and do something that lasts a little while, but themselves, what I'm doing for you is a lifetime. You know, you will never lose this benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they understand it like that.
Right.
And then there's always something that's happened. There's always a belief or something that you have a stumble. There's always, you know that as a trainer yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There's always something that makes you stumble. So you have to sort of catch and do a constant, there has to be a constant win. Somebody has to be this, it cannot be this long tasks that you feel, when is this going to end? When am I going to feel the reward? And as an artist, and the kind of personality I am. I'm a instant gratification kind of person.
Right.
So whatever I do, I like to put constant wins into the project. So within this quest, there's constant little wins, little activities, little projects, little creative things that you're going to do. You're going to come back with, that's exciting you. Nothing too drastic, but it all adds up.
Right. And
I'm really psyched.
yes. And it just sounds like you give so much of who you are to your clients. So that is truly wonderful. But I'm just wondering, where does your energy and your strength come from to be able to, juggle all that you're doing and stay positive and stay energetic for all of us who follow you on Facebook and those who follow your program? Where does that come from?
Where does it come from? I think you hit it on this head a while ago, that I am so fired up and so passionate and so emotionally invested in helping and supporting people to be all that they can be, that anytime I have that opportunity, it's like I just want to hold you and I want to melt into you and I want to just take your cells and generate them. And this is what I love. I absolutely, and in anything, even if it's just giving somebody a plate of food. I mean, I'm a certified chef, and I used to run a restaurant for a long time, a few years. I used to be head of food and beverage in the property, head of events, in food and beverage. So just setting up a buffet for me and that instant gratification and just watching somebody come and smile when they look at it and taste something, all of that for me is like, damn, we're rocking this, and I love that. So that's where I get my energy. Sure, at the end of the day, I crash and burn because I am like, boom, boom, I'm full on. And so that's the other thing. You have to be ready to be full on with me because I am a kind of in your face kind of person. But hey, if that's not for you, there's other coaches, that
and I think part of that comes also from the fact that you take care of yourself. Because I know, like me, you're a runner, you're into working out. And I think a lot of times we discount the importance of being physically strong in order to be mentally strong. And it's something I keep repeating, that the efforts you're investing in yourself now are going to pay off in huge dividends in our later years. So if you're investing the time in ensuring that your body is strong right now, you will certainly reap the dividends of not just being physically strong in your later years, but also being mentally strong. Your thoughts on that?
Of course, because we know I'm sure you've spoken of it, the effects of the brain and exercise. And we know that studies have shown that parts of the brain develop when you exercise. They grow, cells grow. And Mr. Pilates said this in his book from a study that was done in the 30s. And he quoted it in his book about the importance of exercise to get your mental focus, right? So not only are you more focused and more productive, but you also can remember more. You can age less drastically because you are more bright and alert. Also, physically, you ward off disease, you ward off injury and disease and buildup of tension, which stress causes heart problem. We know the levels of cortisol, which are reduced when you have the production of the endorphins and the serotonin and these things when you exercise, and when you go out and you meet people, the oxytocin and the dopamine, all of these things are raised when you exercise, and also you do things with people and you socialize. So it means that getting out there to do runs with people, doing some games with people, tennis or whatever, meeting some people to hike, being active is what we were meant to be. I have never seen a baby in my life that just lies down and just does nothing. We are made to get up and crawl, be active, be curious, this is our natural state, So I think it's very important to do that. And I think I didn't even mention that because it's come so natural for me to be that part of why I'm alert and I am able to do what I do. But yes, I think it's because I have always exercised. I have always been fit and strived. When I say always, obviously there's been occasions when I have been crash and burn, in the sense that I've gone through certain traumas that have affected me, and I just sort of went into a hole. And most recently with Hurricane Maria, I really had a hard time. And I went through about, I would say a good 9 months of quite, I put on like 11 kilos, and I couldn't run because I was in Dominica, and it was just so scary to go out with all the trees just without leaves. And it was really, really scary. You know, it was just really scary to run on the road. I would just constantly feel that if it started to rain, I would just shake. I was really traumatized, literally traumatized. And I was going through a little bit of PSD, post-traumatic syndrome. So stress. So I didn't exercise enough, and then I couldn't sleep because of toppling. You know, the tumbling, banging on the wood, and the rain and the wind. So every time night you hear that, you wake up, you think it's another hurricane, and you start screaming, and you just literally, I'll tell you honestly, I would just run and I would get a bottle of wine, and I just tried to drink the wine to make me go back. I was drinking too much alcohol. I really just went off the rails. And so I had to go through a process of getting back on track.
And I'm so happy that you're being transparent with us, because the other thing a lot of people don't realize is people who come across as being so strong as you, that we have traumas too, that people are human. And it's not because you come off as having energy and knowing what you're about, that you haven't been through some things yourself, and that you haven't had to bounce back from those situations as well. Because, we think of successful people as always having been successful, and that's just not the case. All successful people do is work on incremental success. They work every day to overcome whatever challenges, whether it be personal or life events, but they know that their purpose is calling, and they keep pushing forward. So thank you so much for sharing that trauma that you went through with us.
Yes, I mean, it's just the most recent thing. I mean, everybody has their story. And that's what I often tell people, as you said, don't be looking at somebody like as if they're judging you for where you don't think they've had their story. Forget about that judging. They're more worried about their stress, and you worried about what people will think, what people will say. Forget about it, sweetheart. Just let's deal with you. Just do you. You can't do anybody else. Just do you. So I often remind people that, and I think, as you said, if you are, and that is one thing I deal with here, is I call it your VIPs and pets. I look at with you your values, your inspirations, your past experiences, and your talents and skills. So that's VIPs and pets. And I let them go through that to establish what is special about them, what is their unique asset, your uniqueness about you. And then how does that match up to what you want to achieve in life? Because sometimes you will want a goal, but it's because somebody else told them that's their goal. But is it really what for you? So that's what we do in this quest as well. We're going to match that together and see, okay, you have all these goals. Let's go back to it. Let's revisit. Now that you really know yourself a little better, can we revisit those goals? Maybe we need to write a new contract. Maybe we need a new business plan. Maybe we need a new website. Let's take it. It doesn't matter. Nobody will know. A week from today, nobody the hell will know that you change your website or you change your business. Who the hell cares?
Yeah, and it's so important to not get stuck on the failure, because I think a lot of times we fall, and it's just so painful to get back up and try again. We get stuck on the failure of a business, stuck on the failure of a relationship, and it's just so painful to get back up, which is why it is so important what you're doing with the Quest program in terms of getting people to refocus on their vision and finding a path forward. Now, I want to make sure I'm not leaving out anything that you're doing in terms of your work. So is there anything else you want to share with us before we sign off this evening?
Oh gosh, it's that time already.
Yes.
I can't think of anything else that I want to say. I mean, they know how to get in touch with me. I just want people to
please repeat that information.
Okay, so the quest is called Nobody Does You Better, and it's a quest. It's a 12-week program. They can get me on Carla Armour coaching.com. So that is CARLA coaching.com. And they can look me up on Facebook, on Instagram as well, Carla Armour. And I have a page, Carla Armour. So you can Google me, you will find me, and you can get in touch with me. You can just email me as well, coach@carlaarmour.com. And I just want to just mention something that also I heard when I was young, my mother said, somebody came to her, an employee came to her, and she said, Mrs. Amo, I have a problem. And so on, and she started to talk, and my mother said, no, 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 we don't do problems. We do challenges. Now, if you're coming to me with a challenge, have you thought of any solutions? And she said, oh, Mrs. Amo, okay, I have a challenge facing me. And then she took a breath and she goes, and so before she even finished reframing the challenge, she had already started tick tock, thinking about the solution. But I know what I'm going to do about it now. Thank you, Mrs. Amo. And that stuck with me. I must have been about 15 when I heard her say that. Maybe about 15 or 16. And that stuck with me. We so often stuck in this frame of we have this problem, we have this trauma, we have this failure. No, it is an event, it is a lesson, it is a situation, it's a circumstance. There is a solution. There is always a good to every bad. And that's what I like to tell people. If you can't do something physically, what are you going to do something to get stronger, to be able to do that? A lot of people like to say when they...
And that speaks to changing the internal dialogue in our minds. And that's where it all begins. Simply having that young lady change the wording of what she thought was a problem.
The framing.
Gave her the solution without your mom having to offer her any advice. Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing. And that is why I call my quest Nobody Does You Better. And I struggled with that for a while. But then I realized that I want to start with you. Because nobody else can do you. And so many people do these things, this highfalutin thing that is all about something else out there. No, unless you can be true to yourself and give the best of yourself, then nothing is going to happen for you. You're always going to depend on the others, on another circumstance. So this quest is really about delving deep. It's a reconnaissance mission to get the real you out, to get the passion of you out, to get the divinity out, to get that empress that rules your world, to get her to show her real self. Absolutely. And that's really what I want to do.
And what is your hope at the end of the program? What would you like for the outcome to be at the end of the program for your clients?
Well, I would like them to really be rocking their world, for them to have achieved a couple of their goals, whether it's with their business, pivoting their business, whether it's their health goals, whether it's both. Some of them may be intimacy, maybe it might be a relationship issue that they cannot express themselves because they themselves cannot tell themselves who they are. Yes, it's very important. Some people are struggling with sexual and intimacy issues, because they are physical manifestations in their bodies that they don't realize is coming into their mind. So they cannot have this sense of bonding and this sense of connection because there's a blockage, So there could be anything that comes out of it. But what I want for the women that I work with to be able to make such an impact in their world that they can then touch maybe another 10, 100, 1,000 women in such a positive way that it sends a ripple through their community. Effect. Yeah, and that's what I would like. That they own their space, they take space and they own that space, they claim it, and they say, okay, this is where we're going to go from here. Who's on board with me? Let's move it.
Yeah, this is powerful information. This is really powerful information. And again, I want to thank you for coming on and just helping us in the area of self-development and even in the area of coping, because that is kind of what I'm leaning towards. This is such a difficult time, and I know that a lot of us are struggling with coping, with being able to be successful at this point. So again, congratulations on finding a path to success during this trying time and for taking some time out to share the important work that you're doing and just enlightening us in the area of self-development. So do you have any final thoughts before we sign off?
Well, my final thoughts would just be to say thank you also for the work that you are doing.
Thank you.
And thank you for the opportunity. I just thank God for the gifts of health and outreach and network. And I just want us to continue this connection,
Yes.
because it's really important for us to stay connected, and then our voices are louder and we can help more people. You know, we can help more people to love the skin they're in. And just to tell you one thing before we sign off, my cousin sent me something yesterday, and it's about people saying they're in love with they love themselves. And a lot of people may be very overweight or morbidly obese. And because people say, oh, you must not fat shame people or anything like that. I'm not into fat shaming, I'm not into shaming you. But I think people have to understand the difference in loving yourself and respecting yourself and your potential. You know, because somebody that can be very big can be very, very effective in what they do, but it doesn't mean that they're very healthy. So it means it limits their potential. And imagine if they were in optimum health, how much more they could do, how many more lives they could touch, you know, and for how much longer. So I think it's important for us to love ourselves, love the skin we're in, but understand the respect and potential for that self.
Yeah, beautiful. Very well said. So again, I'm looking forward to collaborating with you
You
whenever you
too.
want to come back on. If you have anything else you would like to share with our audience, because we have listeners from all over the world. So if you ever want to share anything else with us, just you know how to get in touch with me, and we would be happy to have you come back on, and let's keep the connection going.
Definitely. Well, I'll be tagging you as well on some other things we're working on. So
Yes.
I'm sure we'll be seeing each other's faces soon.
Yes, sounds good. So thank you so much, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Thank you so much. Have a
Bye-bye.
great week.
You
Okay.
too. Bye.
Bye.